What's up, guys? Thanks so much for stopping by the channel again. Today we're continuing on our series of Cruel Sea scenario reviews. So we've looked at the first two, which are very basic kind of beginner scenarios, just to teach you some of the basic concepts, rules, things like that for the game, and some of the flavor and kind of like what this game's all about, which again is kind of more smaller coastal ship action as opposed to like the big battleships or anything slugging it out. So this third scenario continues that and basically it's still part of the sort of beginner list here overall, but adds certainly a little bit more to it, if you can tell by just the sheer increase in text, if nothing else here. So sort of the background of this is a signal has come in and one of your boats is in trouble, damaged and drifting. The crew have kept the boat afloat so far and just need to tow it back to port. It all sounds routine, but the enemy has smelt blood and is coming in for the kill. So the objective here is basically the rescuers must race in to rescue the stricken crew and vessel. The enemy will also need to make haste if they are to capture the crew. So we'll see that in a moment here. It'll make sense once we see the map and everything. The deployment, though, in this one, again, a little bit more advanced. So the rescuers have 4 Vospers or 3 E-boats, basically. Again, if you don't happen to have the 2 factions here, which again is going to be classic sort of British Royal Navy versus Kriegsmarine, but you can substitute sort of appropriate vessels from the other factions if you just want to go that route. So just kind of agree with your opponent there, depending on what your guys' 2 forces are. One is nominated to be the rescue vessel with extra berths, sickbay blankets, hot drinks, etc. Their duty is to basically tow back the vessel, like tether it and tow back the vessel if possible, or pick up the crew and sink the vessel to deny it to the enemy. So the stricken vessel is an additional motor torpedo boat. It's been badly damaged and is in severe danger of sinking. It cannot move under its own power, so it's at the mercy of the sea or the enemy. It can defend itself to a degree, so only the gun position can be used, basically like one gun position can be used each turn, as the battered crew move about the ship trying to keep it afloat, while the harassed radio operator Sparks calls frantically for help. So the attackers, aggressive and eager to close for the kill, indeed to avenge their losses, close in from 2 sides to capture their prize. Place 4 Vospers or 3 boats, again the E-boats, in either the attacker's corner or all in one. So with that said, we'll take a look at the map here, guys, and this is kind of a more full-size map. So you see the 2 attacker entry points, disabled boat's kind of dead in the center, and your relief force is also relatively close. They're coming in from the other side. So, it might make sense on the one side to just all come in from the same side and head straight to the disabled boat and try and deal with it. But that being said, I think overall, just depending on what the the relief force is really comprised of, it may be better to come in on both sides, just so that you're not like preventing any potential maneuvering or shots. You want to maximize your arcs for all your gun systems. So I feel like if you're stacking everything on one side, that could potentially get out of hand, and you want to make sure that you're maintaining the right speeds and everything that you want as well. So if you come in on both sides, you can kind of create that sort of pincer movement there and just keep the relief force from potentially like getting there faster than you and then kind of exiting a different way, or leaving them kind of free to have a whole side of the board to themselves, basically. So at least keeping them honest that way, by having both attack points sort of populated, I think is probably the better route. Anyway, special rules here. So the designated rescue vessel needs to move alongside the stricken vessel and take basically the surviving crew off. So as it is dedicated to the job, it merely needs to move at slow speed alongside, and the crew are assumed to jump aboard, all in that move. If one of the unofficial rescue boats tries to rescue the crew, then it must stay alongside within 1 centimeter for 1 turn stationary with the stricken vessel to ensure rescue, because they're basically not set up to do that. So if an enemy vessel moves alongside within 1 centimeters of the stricken vessel at slow speed, then the crew surrender and don't open fire. They're captured, taken aboard, roughly, but not like killed or anything, all in the same move. The attackers will not fire on the stricken vessel unless shot at first. So that's something to keep in mind too, because you probably don't want to open up unless you've already kind of gotten an advantage from your relief force, because if your boat's already disabled, you can probably the attackers probably could really deal enough damage there to just kind of wreck it. So, every time a fleet dice is allocated to the stricken vessel, roll a d10. If a 10 is rolled, then the ship lurches and sinks below the waves, the crew abandoning ship, getting into the dinghies. Place a dinghy marker within 5 centimeters of the sunken MTB. The crew can be rescued or captured using the same rules as above. So really lends some urgency here too, and just makes for, again, a fun scenario. And basically the game ends with the rescue or capture of the stricken crew, so it's really not about blowing up either the attacking or relief forces. But that being said, obviously there's going to be some of that as you essentially fight for the disabled boat and or crew. So really good stuff there. So just a fun scenario that also, again, challenges you a little bit with a little bit more complicated setup, a sort of, I don't want to say like necessarily atypical goal here, but again, it's not just, we're moving away from just simple like blow up the other guy's fleet type of missions here to really, again, some of the interesting features or types of missions that a game like this can allow for. And in this sense, it's a rescue and or sort of a like a hostile, like you're capturing basically wounded or damaged crew here, and as the attacker. So no matter which side you play it as or which two forces, it definitely could be an interesting scenario. So again, typically here, pretty much all the scenarios feature Germans versus Brits, but again, depending on what you and your opponent have, you could certainly just figure out similar values here and go from there and play the scenario. So again, this could be something interesting for like the Pacific with maybe like the Japanese and the US. I'm trying to think what else, Germans and Russians, or maybe Italians and Brits. So there's or even Italians and Americans for like the Mediterranean or something like that. So you could play it as is, of course, but then you can always dress it up a little bit. Here again, this is kind of like open sea, but what if you add a couple small islands to it? That already changes some of the dynamics of this mission. And this is again just very small, basic ships here, but maybe playing this in a bigger scenario with like some of the heavier hitters out there, and some of those are going to be a little bit slower. So just playing around with that, and the bigger ships will be causing there's bigger guns to bring to bear, more kinds of weapon systems and stuff like that. You could try adding planes into the mix a little bit too. So there's just so much fun stuff that could be done here, just taking the core idea of this mission, then playing it up for other things. But nonetheless, this is a great sort of continuation of the first two missions, and really will teach you some interesting things, and sort of being able to also prioritize sort of dealing with actual enemy that are fighting you or shooting at you, but then also having a other goal in mind, which is either rescuing friendlies or capturing hostile troops or hostile forces that have been disabled there. So really, really great scenario again. So we got To the Rescue, as it's called here. So let us know in the comments, guys, if you played this one, what are your thoughts have been, successes or failures, strategies, things that have worked or not worked. Let us know in the comments. Be happy to hear from you guys. Thanks so much again for stopping by the channel, guys. We really do appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and then we'll see you in the next one. Hope you have a good one.